Welcome to Pitch in the Zone. This is our 50th meeting, and I am very, very delighted to introduce our coaches here today. As every week, we have Nathan Gold hailing from San Francisco. His specialty is high stakes presentations. We have Scotty Spursum. Scotty is also from San Francisco, a coach with a focus on language development and accent reduction. We usually have Michael Marchak on the line. He will just watch the video this time because he's on a well-deserved break this week. Massimo Peroncelli, hailing from Thailand, a serial entrepreneur with a lot of experience in investor pitches as well. And Rick Pollack from Massachusetts, a presentation trainer who has coached numerous people, including TED and TEDx speakers. So our presenter this week will be in best hands. And the presenter this week is Adele McDade. She is from Inishowen. Inishowen Algae, a solution. Well, you will see. Adele, welcome to Pitch in the Zone.
Thank you.
Adele, before we start, can you just let us know very, very briefly, what are you practicing this pitch for?
Sure. I have an upcoming business plan competition aimed at early stage companies aimed at investors.
All right, very good. And the time limit for that competition is 6 minutes. So this week we did a quick exception and will allow you 6 minutes, Adele, if you want to set up your slides. And whenever you're ready, I will start the timer that will run down from 6 minutes down to 0. All right, whenever you're ready, Adele, please go ahead.
David Attenborough famously said, "What we do in the next 20 years will determine the future of all life on Earth." What if I told you we already have a way of sequestering 65 times more carbon from the atmosphere per acre than planting trees? What we don't have is a way to bring that to the agricultural sector where the planet can reap the benefits at a large scale, until now. So as well as tackling the climate change, the other very large problem we solve is revenue generation for farmers. 84% of small farms in Ireland are economically unviable. There is immense pressure on farmers to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Ireland's CAP scheme is being revised and farmers are already heavily relying on those subsidies. This is creating the perfect storm for farmers and the perfect timing for our solution. As part of this program, we talk directly and indirectly to almost 100 farmers across Ireland, the UK, Europe, and Canada. We also talk to the presidents of both the Irish Creameries Milk Suppliers Association and the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association. Farming is a tradition and a heritage. Farmers are deeply concerned for the future of farming and the succession of their farms. They feel like they are being unfairly scapegoated for carbon emissions. Of all the farmers we spoke to, 95% are farming at a loss, meaning they need to find an outside job to keep their farms alive. They are crying out for alternative ways to make their farms sustainable. We want to help those farmers by offering them a reliable, low labor cost income stream, We want to help those farmers by offering them a reliable, low labor cost, steady income stream that will allow them to continue doing what they love. We have proved that an acre of our growing system can produce 36.5 tons of algae per year. That's generating up to 3,000 euros. We can put that revenue right into the hands of the farmers. Imagine all the local communities that could benefit from that income. Enter our superhero, Algae. Our solution is an automated, software-managed, self-harvesting algae farming system. Algae is grown suspended in water in polytubes that sit on top of the ground. The system is controlled and monitored with a series of sensors, pumps, and controllers. The information from the farm is collated and the farmers can monitor and control their farm in real time using our smartphone app. For the farmer, this looks like an acre of tubing that can be placed on any part of their farm, particularly suited to marginal land. It's automated and self-harvesting, meaning the algae will be fed directly into IBC tanks ready to be transported with little or no input from the farmer. Training will be provided to handle any issues that arise. Our total addressable market is based on the total number of farms in the EU within suitable climate growing conditions under 50 hectares, and that is 196 billion euros. Our serviceable addressable market is based on the total number of farms in Ireland and Northern Ireland under 50 hectares, and that is 2 billion euro. And our serviceable obtainable market within 3 years is 6 million euro. Our focus is in Europe because of its ideal climate for a growing system, but our system can be easily adapted to other climates, opening new markets in North America, Australia, New Zealand, Asia, and Africa. In the first 3 years, we will continue looking at the value chain of the algae itself. We are really only scratching the surface of the potential of algae as an economic superhero. There are applications in biofuels, pharmaceuticals, health foods, and animal fodder. The IDEA project, which is an almost 5 million euro European project, looks at the value chain of algae. The main problem coming out of that project is how to increase the supply of algae. Our aim is to build a network of skilled, experienced algae growers, positioning Ireland as a centre of excellence for algae. We will sell our system directly to farmers with a contract to purchase the algae grown. We plan to sell 170 acres of our system in the first 3 years of varying sizes tailored to each individual farm. We will supply that algae as a food source to existing anaerobic digestion plants. So what sets us apart from the competition is that we have created a much more simplified growing system that can now be utilised by the farming sector in a way that was never accessible to them before. The other options like solar and wind farms simply do not benefit small to medium-sized farmers because of their size. So this is our team, and as you can see, we are literally outstanding in our field. This is a picture of us when we secured our pilot site here in Inishowen, where we are currently testing our product. I am Edel McDade, my background is in software and I have 14 years experience in the sector. My husband Paul has an engineering background and I can attest is totally obsessed with renewable energies and finding ways to generate electricity. Carleen Little is in business development and communication and she has 17 years experience. Our next hire will be someone with the commercialization experience we need to bring this to market. For the next year, we will continue verifying our data and prototyping and testing our equipment. And by 2023, we're launching to market. We started this with the aim to sequester CO2 from the atmosphere on a large scale in a way that can make a real difference. What we have discovered is the real difference we can also make in the agricultural sector and the symbiotic relationship that exists between the two. Thank you for listening.
All right. You actually came in almost exactly at 6 minutes. So timing wise, you were very well. I personally still thought you were a little bit rushing. It felt rushed. It felt fast. You didn't leave a lot of room for breathing and pausing and making an impact with vocal variety. But let me open the floor. Let me start today with Rick Pollack. Rick, what kind of feedback can you provide to Adele?
Okay. Adele, I like the way, I like the presentation. I understood what the problem was, what the solution was. The opening I thought was very strong, where you showed David Attenborough, and then I like when people say, "What if I told you?" And I think that's a good opening because it gets people the curiosity up. And you talked about the CO2, what we have, we can do this today, what we don't have. So I thought you framed that at the beginning very well. One thing, when you went through, you spent a lot of time talking about the problem, but unless I missed you saying it, you didn't talk about algae until over 2 minutes into the presentation. And I think I was watching the timer, and finally when you said algae, I said, okay. But I think you can mention that at the beginning, because you go through the whole thing and you kind of had the Venn diagram, which usually I see people doing as a solution, but you were kind of coming with all the different pressures, and then it said, okay, here's the problem. I don't know if it works quite as well as a problem as it does a solution, but I think if you can talk more about, because I didn't get what the farm, you very succinctly went through, these are the problems all the farmers have, and this is why it's not viable. These are the issues, but you didn't mention what they're growing. I mean, it might be potatoes, it might be other things, but I think if you say the farmers are growing this crop, but it's not economically viable, we have the solution today, and that's algae, and get that in the first minute. So I think that's going to make it clearer to the people, to the investors, so they know exactly what it is. So I think that would be better there. I think the way you did the market opportunity was good. One thing that I didn't quite get, because I'm sure all the farmers who've been farming their fields for years are familiar with the crop that they're growing. I think you can spend in your 6 minutes just a little bit of saying that this is easy to grow. You talk about the distribution and that it's kind of easy, but I think what objections would they have? I'm thinking of that does it smell bad? I think of algae, is it slimy stuff that they don't want to be around? So I think, the norm that they have, they know that, they've got the soil in the field, they have the crop, they have people harvesting the crop and they ship it off, but they know what it is. So I think you have to kind of say, this is easier to grow than what you have now. So I think that will make it more powerful. And I think also one little thing that I noticed, you had a slide towards the end where it had a couple little terms and you had the little PowerPoint red underlines on it as spelling check. So I think it was next to the last slide. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
We'll get rid of that instantly.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, but I think all you have to do on PowerPoint on that is, either they're typos, or if they are little terms that don't show up, just add it to the dictionary. Just right click on it and
I
say.
think it's a screenshot. That was the problem. It was a screenshot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll instantly
Okay,
get
but
rid of that.
I did notice
Thank
that little underline thing, and I'm used to seeing little things from misspelled words on that. So, but that's easy enough to fix. But yeah, so I think if you just put algae at the beginning, talk a little bit about the objections that a farmer would have. We could think of any of the farmers you've talked to, and I also like the way you had the team. You said, this is what I've done 15 years. My husband has the interest in sustainable farming and the environment. That's good. But also, saying you talk to the farmers, and do you have a testimonial from a farmer saying this is easier to grow than what I'm growing now? It doesn't smell as bad, or I don't have to put the fertilizer on it. I don't have to spread the manure on the fields with this. So some kind of positive to growing algae. That I think will help it make it more powerful. But I like it. Very good, Adele. Thanks for presenting to us.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. And as always, valuable feedback. Totally appreciate it. Massimo.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. And even the concept, of course, we should all take more care of the environment and just do something about that. And I really hope that this concept can really get on, and because yeah, we should leave our planet in a better state to our children than we inherited from our parents, right? But just going down to the point, I think this is a specific case in which we normally say that you should have 2 decks of slides, one for the investors and one for your presentation, because in most of them there was just too much information. I was really trying to find mistakes, but I was trying to follow you and reading the slides. And so I got lost because I lost something that you said, because I was trying to read the slides and trying to understand them. So I would say simplify these ones, but keep them. Just give them like as a PDF or a printed file or something, and simplify these ones. Specifically, let me just give you a list of small things I found, so you can rewatch the video and then you can decide if it's correct or not. First of all, at the beginning, you said, we're going to remove the carbon. Well, you're going to remove the carbon dioxide. that's very important. I mean, somebody's like, okay, to me, that's important to point out. Slide number 3, farmers with a capital F. Why? Number 4, the one with the 3 points at a loss, blah, blah, blah. The fonts are just too small to read. Number 5, 3,000 is euro. You said euro, but there's not a euro symbol there. So when I went back, said 3,000 what? 2,000 euro, just put a euro after 3,000. Then number 6, the solution, the one on the top of the algae is way too small. And the second picture is stretching. It doesn't look professional. It's like the guy is stretching, so it's not nice.
Okay.
Number 7, TAM, SAM, SQM, they're way too small, as big as the numbers. And then you stopped on this slide for so long. I was waiting for the next slide. And then you talked and gave me 5 million euro and numbers and concepts, even like anaerobic things, which maybe is not really, people are not familiar with the concept of anaerobic. And I was like, hey, what she's talking about? I was expecting the slide, but it was not there. So maybe add a new one in between.
Yeah.
Yes, I was saying like the roadmap. You said, this is the roadmap 2004, we're boom, done. I didn't have the time.
I saw Claudio's clock and I was like, okay, I can skip some of this. That's exactly what I did there.
But
and it's obvious, obviously.
Yeah, so just make it simpler so you have more time. But yeah, I really hope that this will become a viable project and it will succeed, because we need to stop polluting the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Massimo.
Thank you, Massimo, and always great eye for detail. I forgot to ask you, Adele, are you going to present this in person, like live, or is this an online presentation?
It's an online presentation.
It's an online, okay.
Exactly the same as today.
Yeah, okay. Scotty, what kind of feedback do you have for Adele?
Adele, love the concept, and I thought overall your presentation was well done. Others have mentioned it, but speed became an issue episodically, and often less is more, because you want people to ask you some questions, so you don't have to push everything out as quickly as you think you do. In the beginning, I think it said on your opening slide, an environmental and economic hero. Is that right? Yeah. It took me a little while to read it, and then, to be able to hear you say it. So maybe mention it, because I don't think you mentioned it right at the beginning. And then I love that, like the little picture of the hero later. It was like, oh, that's what she's talking about, right? It's the algae is our hero. What I'm a couple things I'm curious about. I don't really get how the technology works, and I think we need a little bit more about that. I understand it's a self-contained system that you've developed, but maybe I know just enough about some of this that I'd be interested to understand how it works. How do you grow the algae? How does it come in? How does it go out?
Yeah,
something like that. And then also, I know that there's an issue with plastics and plastics manufacturing and getting materials and getting them from point A to point B. And it's big right now, and it's going to be happening for a little while. So I don't know, you should be prepared to address that. I don't know whether you need to address it in this or not.
Hopefully we will end up making our tubes out of algae itself, but we need the support.
I was just going to say,
I'll add that in there maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And then we can create our own tubes with the technology that's available, or by growing the algae. Yeah. So, okay. And I didn't really hear, I'm also really interested in why you and why this team. I mean, I know your husband's interested in this, and you have a background in the algae industry?
No, it's just in software. So my husband created a prototype to create renewable energies, and I looked at it and said, we can automate this and we can create a system from this. He's just interested in, he's a tinkerer, he likes to make things, and so I'm sort of bringing my experience of the software to it to commercialize it, to make it into a product.
Maybe something like that could help draw us into you personally.
Okay.
The opening is really strong, and then I don't know, I think somewhere up before you even get into the entire problem, either in the beginning or closer to the end when you do the team, it's like, well, And we came up with this idea. It's like, you know, like I need the validation for why you all, and it's fine to say my husband's a tinkerer. We're trying to solve big problems. And when I saw this plan with my background, I knew we could automate it. And that was the beginning of Inishowen Algae. And I'm assuming it's an Irish name for algae, or save the world, or what, is there a?
Yeah, it's a geographical area that we're from, Inishowen. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the greatest name. It may change. It's not great for scaling. It's fine for Ireland. People will understand that concept. In
Yeah.
Ireland. It may change.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so if there's a story there to tell about that, there may not be, but there may be.
Okay.
And I agree with Massimo that some of the slides were just too busy and hard to read. And also even just on one side, the customer validation slide, I kept looking at it because the lettering was over his body. So I would take a look at the slides again for just easy visibility, easy viewing,
Yeah.
and whether you move some things around. And I guess knowing more about how you can grow it and how you can do it, because it is pretty amazing that algae can do so much.
Yeah.
And even in the ocean, for some reason, I thought this was going to be in the ocean. I didn't realize it would be on the land.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
I
pretty.
think that's the natural assumption. Can I ask if you understood by the end of the presentation that it wasn't on the ocean?
Absolutely.
Because we get that a lot, that people
Absolutely.
assume that we're going to see.
Yeah, with a picture of the tubes, I thought that was spot on. That was a really great slide. And I think you said it quickly, but you could maybe pause a little bit more when it's suited for a variety of types of agricultural land, including the land that isn't, I can't remember the phrase used.
Marginal, yeah, marginal, yeah.
Productive. So even if farmers have an opportunity to grow something that makes a profit, they can use the fallow land, right? Or the other, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how that would work over. What does it do to the land if you have the pipes on?
Nothing. It's no impact. I need to make that a little bit more clear, I think.
Yeah, because that's super exciting.
Yeah,
for sure. No, I mean, and we want you to succeed. This is really, really exciting. Any more information on the prototype or the what did you say? You have a pilot? The pilot site.
Yeah. What Massimo said about the pictures on that solution slide, what I wanted was to have a very clear picture of our pilot site, which a series of unfortunate events led that I couldn't get it today, but I will have a nice overview of what it looks like on the land, and that might make it much more clearer.
Yeah. Are you working with farmers that you can?
No, we're doing it ourselves at this point to test. And then we plan to launch with some key farmers that we're going to work with.
Okay, great. No, love the concept, and kudos to you.
Thank you, Scotty. Nathan.
Okay, thank you. And Adele, I'm going to come at this a little bit from a different angle because next week's your competition, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about a number of things you can do right now to make you sound better. Your microphone is holding back your voice. I recommend you get a better microphone for next week, even one like Claudia uses, which is just a simple clip-on lapel microphone that plugs right into the computer. And you will sound 100% better. You don't have to spend much money. What was that, about 20 bucks? Yeah?
Yeah, not even.
Okay.
Really
Amazon order straight
Amazon,
after this meeting.
9 o'clock tonight, depending on where you live. So that's the first place I'd go. Second is, are you planning to read this in the competition?
No.
Okay.
No.
So how do you plan to deliver it?
So I plan to get it into a much more get off the top of, not learn it off by heart, but have a very clear and have it here and, rise and fall a little bit if I need to. But for today, I wasn't prepped enough, so I did read it. I'm sure that was obvious.
All right. So to that point, then you need to cut a lot of things out. You're coming way too close when reading it. So if you try to improvise the whole thing, you're going to go way over 6 minutes. My suggestion is get down to 5.5 minutes if you can. I know that's probably going to be difficult, but get it down will make it easier for you to improvise it and use that extra time to do things like breathe more. Right? And that's one of the things, like Claudio's point earlier, you got going too fast. Probably you weren't breathing properly. So aim for less time Couple more things, because I know we're short on time here today, which is fine. The Scotty's point that she brought to light about your husband being the, kind of the inventor here has some legs to it. I want you to explore the idea of perhaps even using that more directly without fear of worrying that investors try to shy away from husband and wife teams. And if anybody gives you crap about that, you just list off some of the company names that have husband and wife teams that are doing very well today, like Cisco, Eventbrite, and others. Okay. So some people would recommend don't mention the word husband in that first presentation. If you use it as the story, perhaps it could work in your favor.
Okay.
The 95% stat you said that farmers are running their farms, 95% are running at a loss is staggering. That's
yeah,
like,
the 95 that we talked to, so out of 100 that we talked to, 95 were
blew my mind.
profitable.
Blew my
Yeah.
mind.
But that is based in Ireland. I realize
Okay.
that this
All right.
is, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You can start there and extrapolate it elsewhere. But I'll finish by saying that I feel like you missed the opportunity here to make Algae the superhero. You alluded to it. You said that it's an economic superhero, but that was it. And I feel like you could wrap this whole entire presentation around this economic superpower, superhero, sorry. I mean, if it really is a superhero, make hay about it.
Yeah.
I'm here to introduce you to an economic superhero. What's that? Algae.
Yeah.
Why? Boom. I mean, I think it's such great, powerful words there. And I'll leave it at that, but I wish you a lot of luck. And I would love for you and us to have another chance to get together before you go up on that stage. But
We will.
you will? You've got that?
No, I'm on next Tuesday.
I just already made a mental note to
Okay.
extend an offer to Adele to meet up as
I take
many
it-
times as she wants between now and then. My weekend is wide open, Adele. So,
Excellent. I will take it.
we'll
Thank
take
you
this
very much.
offline
Perfect.
in just a moment. But
All right.
yes, there will
Thank
be
you,
a
Adele.
little bit more prep time.
All right.
Thanks,
Debbie,
Nathan.
Debbie, always good to see you. What kind of feedback
thank
do you
you.
have for Adele?
Well, Adele, just like Massimo and Scotty, I mean, right away, I was just like, you just see the need, and it just like you built the empathy really fast, for the farmers and all of that. So it's like definitely, a needed thing. And just like you said, hope that you succeed all over the world. The one thing I was going to mention, which you already said, was your name, because first of all, it's very exclusive to Ireland. And if you do want to scale out to North America and all, but it sounds like you're already looking at that. But that was the one thing I thought, how can anybody pronounce it unless they live there? And so that takes away from the power of what you're trying to do, because, you might be better, like they said, like Algae hero or something, but that was the one thing. But I think all the comments, I, agree with you. The slides were a little hard to follow, but the concept and the need, you expressed it very well. So all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. Moving right along to Kevin. What kind of feedback do you have?
Thanks very much, Claudia, and thanks so much, Adele. I think it's been very good. It was very pleasant to see the slides and the different sort of content. I don't envy you at the moment, because I think a number of the things we've said is pulling you in lots of different directions as to what to do. And I think the solution to that can only be know who your audience is for this competition. Now, what does float their boat? Is it climate change? Is it farmers making profit? Is it their own investment that they're going to do? And what is their knowledge base? So some of the terms you mentioned, abbreviations and letters, language, they may not understand it. So you have to think about bringing that down if you've got a very wide, diverse audience that may have different backgrounds. You start off with the climate change, and we've said it already, what Scotty said about the polytubing, what, you're using plastic, sort of thing. Algae, doesn't algae cause that blooming on water and what have you, and it's poisonous and it's toxic, isn't it? So I think there's a lot of negative potential. So you've really got that algae thing clear that Nathan said about, so what it's do, how it can be used, and the marginal thing is so big, because the last thing I want you to do is stop having potatoes for my dinner next week because it's all growing algae, sort of thing, and stuff like that. So you know, and the marginal stuff. And maybe some of your pictures should be on the marginal sites, not on a lovely
That's,
field.
yeah.
Not on a lovely
That's a great
field.
idea.
So, and from the point of view of the farmers, if they're losing money, can they really afford to invest in your product? So have you, I mean, if you're going to make money out of the product, maybe 10% on any crops, maybe you can supply the materials for free and just take the money back. So there could be other sort of sales mechanisms or extension mechanisms. That's more than enough, I think. Thanks very much. Thank you. Look forward to seeing it next week, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Valuable feedback as always. And Samantha, what kind of feedback do you have for Adele?
Hey, morning, Adele. So let me just have a quick look at my notes because I know we're running out of time. So a very kind of quick fix for you is when I hopped on, I thought Adele Inishowen, Algae. I was like, maybe her name's Algae, and, you know, just the country she's from, Algae has a different meaning. So I think even if you just do something like add a hyphen in there to make it clear that Inishowen isn't your last name, that is your company name. So do something like that just to kind of separate it out, especially if you're delivering virtually, right? And then let me see. I liked your delivery overall. I think you've got a very kind of authoritative sense that I think she knows her stuff. You know your product that you're going to market with. So I think that's great. And I think because of that, there's still a little point though. And I think it's before you got to Algae, because you are talking for 2 minutes. It's like, who are you all? So I like that slide that explains who you all are at the end. But if there's just somewhere in there earlier, because you're talking about all of these problems that farmers are facing and climate change, can you even just throw in a sentence to say, we are a group of, and I was, you know, engineers, scientists, just something so we know who's talking about all of this to us. I think if you can just throw in a line there ahead of your slide at the end. And I think the only other thing kind of just in terms of the content, I felt a little incongruency because you've got your lovely Irish accent, you're talking about Ireland, like, you know, Ireland, you know, you talk about farmers like Kevin, I'm a Brit, I thought of my Irish potatoes, but then you kind of said, you know, Europe's the ideal place for this, but then you kind of went, but suddenly is North America, Africa, da, da, da. I was like, oh, so the whole world is, and I was like, I'm confused. And then later you come back and say about making Ireland a centre of excellence. So I feel like, because you're early enough in, focus on Ireland. Everything about you is Ireland. So focus on that. Maybe just say somewhere in there, the aim is to make the centre of excellence, and, you know, it can work elsewhere, but something about putting it in that early, and then going back to still saying about Ireland, I feel like that sweet spot is focusing on like this, you know, on Ireland, especially unless your audience is of course global or something, but I feel like that Irish focus, at least for this product in the early days.
No, I thanks for catching that. I worried about that. So good catch, I think, because I did worry about saying Ireland is a central excellence, but we're scalable. So yeah, I just have to find a balance to get that in there.
Yeah, and maybe the scalable comes along a bit later, or it's just a sentence at the end. It's just a bit early, and then the conflicting information about the later on. So yeah, but yeah, good job. Good luck with the competition.
All right, thank you very much, Samantha. And this gets us already to the end of today's Pitch in the Zone. We ran over 2-3 minutes, but I think it's absolutely worthwhile doing that because this is a very, very important opportunity for Adele. So Adele, please stay on the line after I finish the meeting. And to everybody who participated today, thank you very much for the time that you put in here. I can tell by Adele's smile, your feedback will be taken to heart. And I already look forward in 2 weeks from now to see the new and improved and shortened 3-minute pitch and hear the results of the competition. In the meantime, I wish you a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and see you again next week. Bye-bye.